Let me reveal a truth the elite have always understood but never shared. Your feelings are the chains binding you to mediocrity. The deeper you care, the heavier those chains become. The more you invest emotionally, the more you bleed internally. This world doesn't reward those who feel deeply. It rewards those who can disconnect without a backward glance. Emotional investment is like currency. Whoever spends less dominates the exchange. Whoever feels less owns the interaction. You believe passion conquers all? Wrong, detachment does. You think empathy commands respect? No, strategic distance does. You crave control? Eliminate the hunger for validation. Destroy the need to be cherished. Kill the urge to always respond. Because the moment you care less, they automatically care more. This world doesn't belong to the vocal, the compassionate, or those who love without limits. It belongs to the one who observes without attachment, who waits in silence while others speak from desperation. The one who knows that caring deeply equals handing over your power. You're tired of caring more than everyone else and getting less in return. You want to understand why some people seem untouchable while you're constantly triggered. The answer will shatter everything you believed about human connection. Humans are prisoners of their emotions, their craving for acceptance, validation, and belonging. These desires are beautiful chains they wear proudly. But the instant you detach, truly detach, not pretend or perform, but genuinely stop caring, you immediately rise above the masses. You become unreachable, uncontrollable, incomprehensible. But today, you break free from this prison. Today you discover what happens when you stop feeding their ego with your attention. The ancient art of emotional warfare. 400 years ago, Machiavelli wrote the blueprint for power. But there was one chapter he never published, the one about emotional detachment, because this knowledge was too dangerous for the masses. Listen to me carefully. In every interaction, every relationship, every negotiation, there are two types of people: the hunter and the prey. The hunter cares less, the prey cares more. And the difference between them? The hunter understands that emotion is currency, and whoever spends less controls the market. You think your ex left because you weren't good enough. Number. They left because you cared too much. You think your boss doesn't respect you because you lack skills? Number. They don't respect you because you seek their approval. You think people ignore you because you're boring. Number. They ignore you because you're too available. The harsh truth is this: people don't value what's freely given. They treasure what's earned. They obsess over what's withheld. Machiavelli understood this when he wrote about the lion and the fox. The lion uses force when necessary, but the fox uses cunning. And the greatest cunning of all? Making others believe they need you more than you need them. Here's what happens when you master this. Your silence becomes more powerful than their words. Your absence becomes more valuable than their presence. Your indifference becomes more magnetic than their desperation. The puppeteer's secret. Every master manipulator knows this secret. Every person who's ever controlled you understood this principle. But they never wanted you to learn it, because once you do, you become uncontrollable. The secret is simple. The person who cares less sets the rules of engagement. Think about it. In your last argument, who won? The one who stayed calm or the one who lost their temper? In your last negotiation, who got what they wanted? The one who was willing to walk away or the one who desperately needed the deal? In your last relationship, who had the power? The one who could live without it or the one who couldn't imagine life apart? This is not about being cruel. This is about being strategic. Machiavelli taught us that a prince must be both loved and feared. But if you must choose one, always choose fear. Because love is conditional, but fear is absolute. When you stop caring about their approval, they start caring about your attention. When you stop chasing their validation, they start validating your worth. When you stop needing their presence, they start needing yours. The paradox of power. Here's where most people fail to understand Machiavelli's true genius. They think power is about force, about aggression, about domination. But real power is about restraint. The most powerful thing you can do is nothing, say nothing, do nothing, just exist in your own space, unbothered by their chaos, unmoved by their drama, untouched by their emotional manipulation. Watch what happens when you stop responding to their texts immediately. Watch what happens when you stop explaining your decisions. Watch what happens when you stop seeking their approval for your choices. They panic. Suddenly they're the ones reaching out. They're the ones asking questions. They're the ones trying to understand you. The power dynamic has shifted, and you didn't even have to fight for it. You just had to stop caring about fighting. But here's the crucial part. This isn't about becoming cold or heartless. This is about becoming selective. You still feel, but you don't let those feelings control you. You still care, but you don't let that caring make you weak. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." This is your new reality. Let them see strength, composure, indifference. Let them wonder what you're really thinking. Let them guess what you really want. Mystery is magnetic. Predictability is poisonous. The theater of indifference. Now we enter the most dangerous territory of all, relationships. This is where empires fall and kings lose their crowns. This is where your emotions become weapons in someone else's hands. Every relationship is a theater, and in every theater, someone is the audience and someone is the performer. The question is, which one are you? The performer seeks applause. They need validation. They change their act based on the audience's reaction. They live for the approval of others. The audience? The audience just watches. They decide what deserves their attention. They choose when to applaud and when to remain silent. They have the power to make or break the performance. You must be the audience in your own life. When someone tries to guilt you, don't perform remorse. Just observe their attempt to manipulate you. When someone tries to anger you, don't perform rage. Just watch their desperation for a reaction. When someone tries to make you jealous, don't perform insecurity. Just witness their need to feel important. This is what terrifies people about truly powerful individuals. They can't be manipulated because they don't need anything from you. They don't need your love, your approval, your validation, your presence. They're complete within themselves. And here's the beautiful irony. The less you need from people, the more they want to give you. The less you chase love, the more love chases you. The less you seek respect, the more respect you command. The battlefield of the heart. This is where we separate the wolves from the sheep. This is where we discover who among you has the strength to implement what you've learned. Your heart will resist this. Your emotions will rebel. Your conditioning will fight back. Because you've been trained to believe that caring deeply is noble, that emotional investment is virtuous, that vulnerability is courage. But Machiavelli knew better. He understood that the heart is the enemy of the mind, that emotion is the enemy of strategy, that caring too much is the enemy of winning. This doesn't mean you become heartless. It means you become heart smart. You love, but you don't lose yourself in love. You care, but you don't sacrifice your power for caring. You feel, But you don't let those feelings make you foolish. The weak man's heart controls his mind. The powerful man's mind controls his heart. When she doesn't text back, you don't panic. When he doesn't call, you don't chase. When they don't invite you, you don't beg. When they don't choose you, you don't break. You remain whole. You remain centered. You remain powerful. Because the person who can walk away from anything, including love, is the person who truly controls everything. The crown of detachment. We're approaching the final truth now. The truth that will either liberate you or terrify you. The truth that separates the rulers from the ruled. Detachment is not emptiness. Detachment is fullness. When you're detached, you're not empty of feeling. You're full of choice. You choose when to engage and when to withdraw. You choose when to care and when to conserve your energy. You choose when to fight and when to walk away. This is what makes you dangerous. This is what makes you powerful. This is what makes you free. Free from their opinions of you. Free from their approval of you. Free from their need to understand you. Free from their attempts to control you. The moment you stop caring about their game, you stop playing by their rules. The moment you stop playing by their rules, you start winning by your own. And here's what they'll never tell you. The people who respect you the most are the ones who can't manipulate you. The people who value you the most are the ones who can't control you. The people who need you the most are the ones who can't own you. You become precious, not because you're available, but because you're rare. Not because you're easy to understand, but because you're impossible to figure out. Not because you're desperate for connection, but because you're selective about who deserves your time. The final revelation. This is the moment of truth. This is where you decide who you want to be. The manipulator or the manipulated, the controller or the controlled, the prince or the peasant. Machiavelli's greatest insight wasn't about politics or war. It was about human nature. He understood that people are driven by two primary forces, fear and desire. And the person who can master both within himself can master anyone. When you stop caring about their approval, you stop fearing their rejection. When you stop needing their validation, you stop desiring their attention. When you achieve this state, you become unstoppable. Not because you're cruel, but because you're complete. Not because you're cold, but because you're centered. Not because you're heartless, but because you're heart-smart. The world will try to guilt you back into caring. They'll call you selfish, cold, distant, arrogant. Let them. These are the complaints of people who've lost their power over you. Your family will try to emotional blackmail you. Your friends will try to shame you. Your romantic interests will try to manipulate you. But you remain unmoved. You remain focused. You remain free. Because you understand what they don't. Power is not about controlling others. Power is about controlling yourself. The emperor's new clothes. Here's what nobody wants to admit. The most respected people in your life are the ones who care the least about your opinion of them. Your boss who never seeks your approval. Your friend who doesn't change their plans for you. Your romantic interest who doesn't text back immediately. These people command respect, not because they're mean, but because they're centered in their own reality. They don't need you to complete them. They don't need you to validate them. They don't need you to understand them. And that's exactly why you respect them. This is the paradox of human nature. We're drawn to what we can't have. We respect what we can't control. We value what we can't manipulate. So stop being so available. Stop being so understanding. Stop being so accommodating. Stop being so desperate for connection that you lose yourself in the process. The emperor's new clothes weren't about the clothes at all. They were about the courage to see reality clearly, to speak truth boldly, to stand apart from the crowd. That child who said, "The emperor has no clothes," wasn't being disrespectful. He was being detached enough to see clearly. The awakening. You're not the same person who started watching this video. Something has shifted inside you. You can feel it. The old you who chased, who begged, who explained, that person is dying. And in their place, someone stronger is being born. This is your awakening. This is your transformation. This is your liberation from the emotional prison you've been living in. From now on, you don't explain yourself. You demonstrate your worth. You don't chase people, you attract them. You don't beg for respect. You command it. You walk into rooms differently. You speak differently. You listen differently. You exist differently. Because you've learned the secret that the powerful have always known. The person who cares less controls the conversation. When they insult you, you don't react. You observe their desperation. When they ignore you, you don't chase. You focus on your own growth. When they try to manipulate you, you don't engage. You simply walk away. This is not about becoming heartless. This is about becoming strategic. This is not about being cruel. This is about being wise. This is not about lacking empathy. This is about having boundaries. The new you. Tomorrow, you wake up different. You text different. You speak different. You exist different. Because you've internalized the most powerful truth in human psychology. Detachment is dominance. Your ex who's been playing games, they suddenly notice you're not playing anymore. Your boss who's been taking you for granted, they suddenly realize you're not desperate for their approval. Your friends who've been using you, they suddenly understand you're not available for their drama. This is what happens when you stop caring. They start panicking. Not because you're being mean, but because you're being strategic. Not because you're being cold, but because you're being selective. Not because you're being heartless, but because you're being heart smart. You become the person people think about when they can't sleep. You become the person they analyze when they're alone. You become the person they miss when you're not around. Why? Because you've become rare. And rare things are precious. Scarce things are valuable. Unavailable things are desired. The Machiavellian mindset. This is your new operating system. This is your new way of thinking. This is your new approach to life. You don't react to their moods. You respond to their actions. You don't chase their attention. You focus on your own goals. You don't seek their approval. You validate yourself. Every interaction becomes a chess game, and you're always thinking 3 moves ahead. When they try to make you jealous, you recognize the tactic and remain unmoved. When they try to guilt you, you see the manipulation and stay detached. When they try to anger you, you observe their desperation and maintain your composure. You become the storm that others try to weather, not the ship that gets tossed around by every wave. This is the Machiavellian mindset. Strategic, calculated, controlled. Not cruel, but clever. Not heartless, but heart smart. Not cold, but centered. And here's the beautiful truth. When you master this mindset, you don't need to be ruthless with others. You simply need to be disciplined with yourself. The final test. Everything you've learned means nothing if you don't implement it. Everything you've understood is worthless if you don't embody it. This is your final test. Tomorrow, when someone tries to manipulate you, will you fall for it? When someone tries to guilt you, will you cave? When someone tries to control you, will you submit? Or will you remember what you've learned here? Will you remember that caring less is not heartlessness, it's wisdom? Will you remember that detachment is not cruelty, it's freedom? The choice is yours. The power is yours. The control is yours. But only if you stop caring about their approval and start caring about your own respect. Only if you stop chasing their validation and start validating yourself. Only if you stop needing their presence and start valuing your own company. This is your moment of truth. This is your transformation. This is your liberation. The old you dies here. The new you is born here. The powerful you emerges here. The crown awaits. Every king was once a slave to someone else's opinion. Every emperor was once desperate for approval. Every ruler was once ruled by their own emotions. But they broke free. They stopped caring about what others thought and started caring about what they achieved. They stopped seeking validation and started creating value. They stopped being controlled and started controlling. Now it's your turn. The crown of emotional sovereignty awaits you. The throne of personal power is empty. The kingdom of self-respect is waiting for its ruler. But you must claim it, you must earn it, you must fight for it, not with weapons, but with wisdom, not with force, but with focus, not with aggression, but with detachment. When you stop caring about their games, you stop playing by their rules. When you stop playing by their rules, you start winning by your own. This is the Machiavellian way. This is the path of power. This is the road to freedom. And it starts with a single decision. The decision to stop caring about their approval and start caring about your own respect. The decision is yours. The power is yours. The freedom is yours. But only if you choose it. If this video shattered your illusions and awakened something dangerous within you, subscribe to this channel. If you're ready to stop being manipulated, controlled, and played like a puppet, hit that like button. Share this with someone who's still trapped in the prison of caring too much. Because power doesn't beg, power doesn't chase, power doesn't explain, power simply exists, detached, focused, and free. The weak will call you cold, the manipulators will call you cruel, the controllers will call you heartless. Let them. These are the complaints of people who've lost their power over you. Welcome to your new reality. Welcome to your new power. Welcome to the moment you stopped caring and started conquering.